Greetings.
Salutations.
Welcome to another edition of Here to Help You. As you can tell, there are no women today.
Yep.
Or we should say there's no woman, right? It's just myself, of course. I are Dave Rankin. To my left, that's not Simone Jennifer Smith.
It's the light skinned Simone Jennifer Smith. I go by the name of Dwayne Daly, a.k.a. Bruce Dwayne. Thank you.
There we go. My homie Bruce Dwayne joining us today for another edition.
But we have to call you the Don. Remember, you're still the Don. Even though Simone's not here, you have to be the Don Dave Rankin.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you.
Right.
You know, and of course, we're doing this in memory of course, the beautiful queen, the Donette, Simone Jennifer Smith.
So,
We miss you. Definitely. Come back in one piece. You understand?
for sure.
Today, we're pretty much discussing all things Black Panther. During the ride over here, and as well as, you know, as soon as we got into the office, we had a lovely conversation with Alyssa, and we're like how important this movie will be, especially when it does arrive later this year, next month. In fact, I've already heard that right now we have groups upon groups of people who are looking to go ahead and pre-order and sales or tickets so they can go in and of course see this on its opening weekend.
Yeah, they did break a record.
Wow.
Being like for pre-sales for tickets.
Okay.
They did break the record. I think it's the best-selling. I'm not sure if it's the best-selling pre-sale movie for tickets or Marvel movie, but it did beat Thor from last year.
Oh boy.
So it's gonna be something serious next month. Man.
I tell you, you know, and Thor did really well in the theaters. So I mean, for it to go and break that record, wow. I mean, I tell you, you know what? Like we don't understand the importance, especially of this movie as of yet, until we actually going to sit down in the theaters and actually watch it, right? I remember watching an interview with Stan Lee and him saying, you know, this was his most important character, right? Of course, being a black man from Africa, right? Excuse me, well, an African in this case, right? And of course, the first edition of 1966, which is the same year that the Black Panther Party, of course, was created as well. So, I mean, you can tell about the racial tensions at that point in time. And we all know the backdrop, of course, of Wakanda, right? With Wakanda having this wonderful resource, right? And everybody wanted to come in, of course, and take this resource from them, right? So, I mean, it's important. Definitely go out there. If you haven't pre-ordered, wait. Definitely you can go ahead and grab your tickets.
Like, see, I'm not too familiar, but would you say that Stan Lee was kind of like influenced and inspired by what was going on at that time
during the 60s?
Like the Black Panther movement and everything going on, right?
You know what? I don't know. He does say, you know, the research does show that, of course, you know what, when the Black Panther character came out and when the political party was established, there are some months on hand, right? Black Panther, I believe, was July of 1966, and of course the political party was, I believe, in the fall of that year. Okay. Right. So I mean, I'm not sure in regards to how related, in regards to, of course, the party and of course the character, but I do know art does imitate life,
and life does imitate
right?
art,
Exactly. Whichever. Right. I mean, we are looking simply, of course. Let's look now at Professor X and of course Magneto, who are supposed to be, of course, the Dr. King and as well as Malcolm X, right? So I mean, that in regards, of course, imitates reality, right? Their situation, and, you know, and of course it begs the question, who are the mutants?
Yeah, who are the mutants?
Right. So I mean, of course, in this case now, let's go and revert it back, right? Where, you know, now you have, of course, all the racial tensions, you have this resource, right? And it's the same old story once again. You know what? An African country holds this resource, and of course, everybody wanting this resource, right? Wanting to go and exploit it, and more importantly, you know what? Have their own leaders in place as well.
Yep.
Right. Now, if I'm going to say this. Well, I'm going to ask you this now, right? The importance of Black Panther. What would you say would be the importance of Black Panther to yourself?
For me personally, at least, it's representation.
Okay.
I would say for like the newer generation, how many superheroes are we going to say that they've shown on television? Or even in movies in the last, like, what, 2 decades?
Okay.
Like, for us?
Right.
Like recently we just had Luke Cage, and then before that, like, what else? I'm not even too sure. They had Will Smith with
what's the name again?
I can't even remember the movie.
Hancock or something like that. Was it Hancock? Hancock, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. Right? Good looking out.
I'm not too sure if that was like a really great movie, but it was okay. But you know, that was even a great representation of like a good black superhero or anything like that. But again, it's representation. Like a lot of us want to watch like superheroes and stuff from our like comics and stuff like that, and be like, oh, cool, we have somebody who looks like us and protects us and defends us and knows what we are, how we can relate to.
Exactly.
Like, we can't really relate to a lot of these like Captain Americas and all these kind of people. Like,
right.
So, like, we can relate more to Black Panther and stuff like that. So representation.
I hear that. And one thing that I especially enjoy, especially with the Black Panther character, is the integration with other superheroes. Right. Of course, with him being a part of the Avengers.
Yep.
Right. Prior to that, Blade. Wesley Snipes always said this, where he wanted roles which were integrated, of course, with other superheroes, namely, of course, Spider-Man, right? Especially back then, when you would have, of course, in the comics, the two of them would go ahead and team up, either on a mission, or pretty much just in passing, right? So, I mean, I love the integration this time around, especially, because he holds his own. I mean, anybody who's watched Civil War understands that Black Panther, he holds his own in that movie, right? So, I mean, that character alone, it shows tremendous strength, right? And as you mentioned, of course, it's a very relatable character. And you know what? Especially for our little ones growing up who didn't know what it was like to have a superhero, especially in the form of a comic book.
Yeah.
Now you got one. Right. So what we're going to do, of course, today we're discussing all things Black Panther, and we're going to go ahead and lead into, of course, some of our favorite enemies.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So the first gentleman, Ulysses Claw. Can we get that picture up for me, please?
Yeah. So he was first appearance in the Fantastic Four, number 53 in 1966. So that's way before my time. I had to, I couldn't even tell. I don't even know what 1966 looked like, but
I hear that.
But with Claw, he was the son of a Nazi war criminal. Was it Colonel First Claw?
Yes.
And he became an assassin once he was an adult. Then he was hired to kill T'Chaka. Was that T'Challa's father?
Yes.
And just to make sure that T'Chaka agrees for negotiation of Wakanda's resources and everything going on there. And there's also some personal issues as well, because supposedly his great-great-grandfather, Ulysses Claw, was grandfather was killed by was it T'Chaka?
It's probably T'Chaka.
I can't even pronounce
I know
his name, but that was a while ago. Let's see, Belgian government they took care of him.
Okay.
And they mangled his hand, so that's where he kind of
gets the claw
right on there. And his powers would be sound generation. Can transform ambient sound for variant uses. He has a solid sound body, so his body is stable to energy, which allows him to live without eating.
Oh wow.
Sleeping. He can't be harmed or penetrated. Wounds can't be. They can't penetrate wounds into him.
Okay.
He can't get diseases or shock impact, oxygen deprivation, and many other things. His abilities would be he was a physicist and engineer specialist.
Right. And
strength would be to possess superhuman strength, enabling to lift anything approximately 5 tons for his body weight.
Oh wow. It's crazy. I mean, I've always enjoyed his story, and the ruthless pursuit that he's always had, right? Especially now, of course, the great-great-grandfather, right? And of course, hearing those stories, Ulysses Claw, hearing those stories as a child about Wakanda, and all of a sudden, of course, get the battle, of course, the Great Black Panther, and pretty much becoming this close to going and taking the resources in the comic books as well, right? Jordan, could we go back to the same picture that we had just a while ago? Yes, perfect. So we can see, of course, the different variations of this character. On our right, maybe TV Land's far left, we showed the original image, one of the original images, and you can see now, of course, the transition now. He looks a lot more human, and of course, at the end there we have the character, which will be displayed in the movies, right? In the movies, I'm looking forward to finding out how he's going to receive, or how they're going to use that mangled arm, right? Because of course, we see now we have, of course, on the right arm, pretty much everything where the emission of sound is take place.
Yeah, because right? I did see in the trailer that he did shoot off I think ultrasound from his hand in one of the trailers at Black Panther.
Okay.
So I think they probably might be
probably real close. Perfect. You know what? We got about 10 seconds before we're going to our first break. Jordan, you want to throw up the comic book covers for the first appearance for Ulysses Claw? I believe it should be one that should be side by side with the first appearance. Should be Fantastic Four. Should be a Fantastic Four with... There we go. Perfect. Yes, so for all our comic book collectors, we show here, of course, on our left, that is 1966, the July edition, where we show, of course, the introduction of Black Panther, and to its right, the introduction of Mr. Claw. We're going to go ahead on a quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are discussing all things Black Panther, including our favorite enemies. Stay tuned.
Investing in yourself. Like, you have to know what your brand is first. So there's no other way that you're going to build a brand unless you network. You have to eventually get out there.
And it stems down to a lot of times not having the right knowledge, the right know-how.
Welcome back to another edition of Here to Help You. Once again, and my name is Dave Rankin, and to my left is not the Donette, but it is a good brethren of ours, Bruce Dwayne, in the house today, family.
Salute.
Yes. We're discussing all things Black Panther, and of course, one of the things that we are discussing or honing in today, of course, is some of our enemies, some of our favorite enemies that the good Black Panther has went in and faced. Last segment, we got into Claw, right, as a leading off, of course, some of our favorite enemies, right? And now let's go to another gentleman, of course, who's going to make appearance in the movie. And to me, he's probably one of my favorite enemies of Black Panther. Yeah. Right? Mr. Eric Killmonger. Could we throw up a first appearance picture for me, please?
How do you pronounce his original name? The Jadaka?
That's a good pronunciation. I'm going to go with N. Jadaka myself, right? So, I mean, he's a Wakandian. Right, and it's so interesting, like I said, like how the story ties, right? Because I believe that it was either himself or his father worked for Claw. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, right, and then of course after Claw was or at least the father was killed, and of course the younger son.
But he worked for Claw against his will.
Against his will.
So that's why Eric kind of has like a bad
taste in his mouth.
For Claw, but at the same time, what ended up happening was let's say, just because all that happened, they kind of did banish him from Wakanda.
Yeah.
Which is not really his fault, because he was kind of against his will to work with Claw. But you still worked for Claw, so you can't really...
Exactly. His first appearance, Jungle Action Volume 2, Number 6, September of 1973. That's a good year for comics as well, especially for Black Panther, because we'll get into another enemy later on in the show. So, as we discussed, the whole family was banished from Wakanda, right? And so he now made it his mission, his life's mission, to go ahead now and destroy Black Panther. And you know what? I don't know if they're going to show this in the movies, but in the comic books, he defeats Black Panther and he does take the throne. So that's going to be interesting, of course, if that does take place in the movies. However, though, in the comic books, in fact, it goes as far as Killmonger joining the Avengers.
Really?
Yes. I think there's a picture. I'm not sure if you throw it up already, but there should be one there with Killmonger as the Black Panther joining the Avengers. And he knocks on the door.
And did the Avengers know about this as well?
They knew.
Okay.
Because, the ceremonial rites, right, where they have the fight, of course, for the throne, right? And, of course, in that case now, he ends up beating him. right? And that's how. There we go. There he is right now.
Is that his pet leopard?
Yes, Prey. Prey, Prey, Prey the pet leopard. And you see She-Hulk as a member of the Avengers at that point in time as well. All right, that's the story. It's an interesting story. It's a good read. I'm looking for some of them myself. Hopefully, when I come into, of course, I win the lottery money, I can go and buy the whole set.
One thing about Eric Killmonger, when he was in the States, living in Harlem, he was a smart guy.
Yeah,
like he's really intelligent. He did have a PhD in engineering and the MBA in Massachusetts Institute of Technology. While being there, he eventually made his way back since he was exiled.
Okay.
So he can take back the throne, as you were saying. He did have a lot of, his powers are exactly the same
as Black Panther.
Black Panther. I think he had the exact same suit. It's because he used the same. What's that? The heart shape, synthetic heart shape herb.
Yes, I don't remember the name of the herb, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, he did use that to enhance him towards superhuman, acute senses, peak human strength, speed, stamina, durability, agility, and his reflexes. He was a master at martial arts, genius level, as I said. He had the Wakandian armor and trained leopards, and he was also great with firearms and blades.
Crazy, just to think, like this gentleman, of course, like in the comic books, I remember. He dies and comes back to life, and and like his plots were real sinister. I mean, of course, in taking over, right? And especially now when Black Panther goes away, right, and joins the Avengers, right? And of course, everybody's thinking that Black Panther should be on the throne and should think about Wakanda. But of course, as I say, when the cat's away, the mice will play, right? Let's jump into our next enemy, Man-Ape, aka M'Baku. That is such an African name if you know it.
I like his name. It's actually really dope. Man-Ape.
Yes, this is the first edition, the first appearance of Man-Ape during the Mighty Adventures, 1969. In fact, the issue is 1962. There's another one there, Jungle Action Volume 2. Oh wow, that's excellent, man.
Oh, with Captain America?
Yes. This one right here. This is what they recreated the Avengers edition and put in, of course, in Jungle Action. This is also the first appearance, well, technically a first appearance under Jungle Action.
Okay.
Right. So 1973, right? This came out either a month before or a month after Killmonger. First appearance.
First appearance?
Yes. So 1973 is a wonderful year for of course, for Black Panther comics. So all our comic collectors definitely be on the lookout for these, right? So M'Baku. Let's talk about M'Baku. What do we know about M'Baku? Tell me about M'Baku.
Wakanda's greatest warrior, second only to T'Challa.
Okay.
The Black Panther entrusted M'Baku to watch over Wakanda while he was gone with the Avengers for majority of the time. So while he was there with the Avengers, when T'Challa returned, found his throne was overthrown by M'Baku.
Okay.
The two men clashed, and the enemies were enemies ever since. And then M'Baku had joined the Lethal Legion twice. Oh, wow. With the Master of Evil once.
Okay.
So that's two different crime families, right?
Right.
The only thing, I think he's not going to be in the Black Panther. I think he's going to be more in the Avengers, right?
I think he's in there. I think we got a picture up there with M'Baku in the Black Panther movie. I believe he's in there. I'm not sure how much. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Right. I'm not sure how much a role he will play, but he's supposed to be in the movie. And as you can tell, of course, they went a little bit more of a humanistic side of things. But as you can tell, just right around the collar, you can see so much. Of course, what was supposed to be the white fur of the gorilla, right? So I mean, it's gonna be interesting once again in regards to how much a role he's gonna be in this movie. It should make for a wonderful subplot because, of course, if they keep it strictly in regards to relating it to the comic books and regarding him wanting, of course, the throne. Right, especially while Black Panther is away, so it's gonna be very interesting in regards to how that's gonna tie in with, of course, the whole overall movie as well. Right, in the comic books, and of course in the 1973 comic books, and as well as the Avengers one, he does defeat Captain America and as well as Black Panther. He does jail the rest of the Avengers in that comic book as well, and it takes, of course, a collective of them to go ahead and defeat Man-Ape. From, of course, destroying, in fact, killing Black Panther at that point in time.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So I mean, he goes real far in regards to his plot as well, right? Let's go jump over to our next. Nakia, a.k.a. Malice.
Malice. Okay, so she was first appeared in Black Panther Volume 3, the first issue, and Nakia, a.k.a. Malice. Descendant of a fisherman from the Valley of African of Wakanda. Early age, she was groomed, so she was part of the Adored Ones, which also was called the Dora Milaje.
Okay.
So with the Dora Milaje, it's just a group of young women who are really like trained and honed to be warriors, but at the same time, they're also in a position to eventually be wedded or married by the Black Panther.
Okay.
When he seems fit, right? So with the Dora Milaje, she was promoted to harmony between Wakanda's rival tribal factions. By the age of 14, she was accepted in the order, spent the rest of her life growing up in the royal palace. During this time, she became increasingly obsessed with Black Panther. She fantasized about marrying him. At one point, she threw herself 50 feet into a shallow pool to get her king's attention.
Oh, wow.
The Panther administered mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on her to revive her.
Okay.
And this kind of like, she thought this was a kiss, so kind of
lifted her spirits.
Yes, and then so she was entitled to compete with the king's rights to his concomitants. I do not know what that word means. So it's also viewed order as the largest ceremonial and demands of them. So over time, she actually finally, when he was actually dating a woman named Monica Lynn.
Yes, that is the model from New York.
She tried to kill her.
Jealous rage.
So from there, I think she got banished during the war. No. She was ejected from a plane. She actually did kill her. Monica was dead. So immediately from there, she dismissed her as a duty disgrace. Okay. So she was not banished, but from the tribal Wakandas and placed during a rainstorm. She was crashed and she was captured by Achibe.
Okay.
Which
we'll definitely get into it. Uncle Achibe.
We'll get into him eventually. Achiba brutally tortured her and left her to die at some point. And another of Panther's enemy, Killmonger, did happen upon her. Killmonger used her arcane methods to mystically alter her when he resurrected her to restore Nakia's health.
Okay. And
process granted her into increased strength.
Oh, wow.
Her abilities, magic, increased level of strength, speed, accuracy, great with weapons. Yeah. So she was infatuated with
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
It's getting interesting because I tell you, some of these stories definitely art imitates reality. That's for sure. And of course, we can see where it's some we just men as well, because sometimes they're so infatuated with somebody else who definitely has no interest in them and how far they will go in regards to go ahead and win the eyes or the heart of that other person. Stick with us, family. We're going to take a commercial break with discussing all things Black Panther. Peace and love.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
We back. Once again, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in today. Myself, Dave Rankin, alongside my brethren, Bruce Dwayne, we're discussing a few things, Black Panther. If you missed the first two segments, we opened up with, of course, discussing the importance of the Black Panther figure. Of course, the increased attention, as well as, our wanting to go ahead and see this movie when it comes out next month. Like, I'm so excited. I have a bag of children right now, right, who want to come with me to the movie theater. Shout outs, of course, to all my nieces and nephews who want to go ahead, and make it a group.
I'm going to be on like my social righteousness on that day too. I'm going to be dressed in all black, fist in the hair with my bonnet, with the hat on, black sunglasses. I'm gonna be super Black Panther that day.
Right, and as well as discussing that, we were discussing, of course, some of our favorite enemies as well. We started off with Ulysses Claw. We went into Eric Killmonger, who's played by Michael B. Jordan in the upcoming movie. We also spoke about Malice, who's going to be an interesting character. I'm not sure if she's in the movie or not.
She's definitely in the movie. Yeah.
Beautiful. So it's going to be, once again, another subplot. So it's going to be wonderful to see, of course, how everything ties in with the movie, especially how, how far and how sinister she was in the comic books. Right? And we also discussed a little bit about Man-Ape, M'Baku. If there isn't a strong African name, definitely M'Baku is definitely the one.
Yeah, and he does look like a very strong African. Even in the movie, I think he's most likely to be in there, but he looks like
a real trapping
man-ape. Look,
yeah.
Look at that. I couldn't cast the perfect person for that role.
Yeah, for real. Shout outs to the casting team. Let's go up into our next set of enemies.
We're going to be talking about Midnight Angels.
Yes, and we'll hold this one up right here. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, this is perfect. I love this picture here.
Yeah, I love this picture as well.
Wow. The Midnight Avengers. So the Midnight Angels, the first name, Ayo, I believe?
Ayo, yeah.
Ayo and Anika, right? They were part of the Dora Milaje, if I'm right. Is that correct?
Correct.
Beautiful. Let me go ahead and hold this up here. They are featured in this one, which is the Ta-Nehisi Coates edition of Black Panther, and as well as their first appearance in this one right here, the Doom Wars. If you haven't picked up Doom Wars, definitely pick up Doom Wars, especially for the Midnight Angels appearance and role.
There's also one more. This is a newer edition. This came out last year. A year ago. This is the World of Wakanda. So this is kind of explaining more so about the Dora Milaje and how they kind of started.
Okay.
Before those two started, before those two came out.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about the Midnight Angels.
So Ayo and Anika, former members of the Black Panther's loyal personal guard, Dora Milaje, who have rebelled. They're not evil or out of the world domination, but have a major political disagreement with Black Panther and his rule.
Okay.
They did appear again, as you said, Doom Wars. T'Challa was considered this. In that time, I would say Black Panther spent a lot of time with the Avengers.
Right.
He spent a lot of time in the U.S., not really in Wakanda. So they couldn't really understand, hey, listen, there's a lot of stuff going on in Wakanda right now. War is happening. People are trying to invade us.
Right.
People are dying.
Right.
And it's you're not here to protect us. And how can we really follow you?
Right.
And I think it was more so Ayo who was really kind of going against Black Panther.
Okay.
But Anika still wanted to fit that position of the Dora Milaje of, hey, maybe one day.
Right.
I might wed him. He might choose me to wed him. So
to change from the inside. Right.
Hey, in the world of Wakanda, they actually had a love interest. So
okay.
So with that being said, Anika didn't really want to be in a relationship with Ayo. Knowing that Black Panther one day might
go ahead and marry
her, but she's just hey, listen, don't worry about that. Black Panther's not here. He doesn't care. You know what I'm saying? We know what's real. Let's work on this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then over time, I think something happened in Wakanda. He comes back, and he had to sit down with one of the enemies.
Okay.
And that's when it was like the final straw. Right? So they're just like, hey, listen, we don't want to work for Black Panther. We'll still work with Wakanda and the royal family. And then there's a point where Anika, I think you might know about this. Anika killed a chieftain.
That's right. That's under this edition right here, the Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Yes.
This is what that story falls under.
Yeah, so she killed a chieftain of a village who he was raping women and abusing women. And so she was sent to prison. And Ao went to go free her and release her, and then that's when she got the suits for both of them. Okay. And they escaped, and that's with the beginning of the Midnight Angels.
Okay. Right. Beautiful. So, in regarding the suit, you know, like, what are the superpowers of the suit that we can go and explain to some of our viewers who aren't too familiar?
The suit powers. So they're so the women themselves, they're highly trained in martial arts. Since they were part of the Dora Milaje, the suit gives them super strength. They have super armor, super speed, and pulse beams on there as well. Pulse beams. And they also have the ability to fly.
Okay, wicked. You know, like, they definitely, if anybody hasn't picked up the Ta-Nehisi Coates edition or his rendition of the Black Panther series, it is an excellent read. It's a very good read. The World of Wakanda I didn't follow so much. I don't believe the lifespan or the shelf lifespan.
Yeah, I did cancel like after the 6th issue.
The 6th issue.
And then, but it's still, I think it's still a good volume. Like, I think anybody should pick it up and read it. Right. It's a great volume. Excellent.
Let's go ahead and jump over to our next enemy. I like this one here. I don't really know a whole lot of them, but you know what? I see this gentleman's picture, right? And I absolutely love, you know, the way this gentleman was drawn. Reverend Achibe, right? Or Akibe or Achibe. I like to call him Achibe.
So you did show the Black Panther issue number 2. He was in there in 1998. That's when he was first mentioned, but he first appeared in issue 3. He was rumored to be a farmer named Bob living in the small African country of Gudaza. One day rebel guerrillas from the neighboring country of Ujanka were forced over into the border onto Bob's farm. Bob helped them, nursed these fighters back to health, but his wife fell in love with one of the rebel leaders. Okay. The guerrillas took his wife with them when they left, leaving Bob for dead and his farm burnt to the ground. Bob was driven insane, and he offered his soul to make a deal with the demon Mephisto. He proceeded to track down anyone associated with his wife and the rebels, killing each one. And he did go to the U.S., and he did attend Yale University. Oh, wow. Acquired multiple degrees. He formed ties with rogue elements in the U.S. intelligence communities and also with the Russian mob.
Crazy.
He had powers, extremely gifted genius, talents such as ventriloquism, and proficient in the use of explosive devices.
Crazy. You know, he's got a wonderful backstory. I mean, especially, you know what, like, it kind of ties into one of the creation stories, or at least the back origin stories of the Joker as well. Of course, you know, when the Joker's wife dies, and that simply just goes ahead, and that's like the last straw for him, right? So you can understand, of course, something like this where he's just totally in love with his wife, and something like this takes place. They beat him, they left him for dead, right? Burned down his farm crop, and of course now it's just no longer reverend, but of course it's just revenge, right? Let's jump over to our next one. We know we got a little more time left in this one, but I like this next character, White Wolf. Yeah, White Wolf, who is apparently the adopted brother of the Black Panther.
Yep.
I like this cover right here. This is an excellent cover. I believe this is the first appearance of the White Wolf in this one here. Volume 3, number 4. We're looking at 1999 as the year. So definitely our comic book collectors, please be on the lookout for that one. So as I understand the backdrop, and you can go ahead and confirm this with me. So White Wolf, aka Hunter, plane crashed. And he was the only surviving member. Is that correct?
Landed in Wakanda, yeah.
Okay, and it's T'Chaka, right? T'Chaka, the father who took him in, right? At that point in time, and adopted him and groomed him, of course, within, of course, the royal order of the Wakanda, right? And he had a son.
Yeah, the son, yeah.
T'Challa, and then, of course, from then on, that's where pretty much the jealousy.
The jealousy, and the rivalry kind of with him but I don't think T'Challa knew too much about it.
Okay.
But at the same time, growing up, he was devoted to Wakanda. He loved Wakanda more than anybody else. So he wanted the best and to protect Wakanda as much as anybody else who lived in Wakanda.
Right.
But he was white, so a lot of people looked at him like, okay, you're not really from here, you're not us, so you need to relax. You know what I'm saying? Like, so,
that's and you know what? Like that's pretty much like the biggest thing about his story. The fact that, you know what, he was Caucasian.
Yeah.
Right. Let's put it. You know, he's Caucasian in an African nation. So of course, you know what, there's going to be that. Or what we now quote unquote call it xenophobia in that case, right? Because of course he's just totally foreign, right? But then at the same time, I mean, how can you go deny somebody who's been on Wakandan soil since childbirth, right? So from what I understand, of course, he was part of the is either the security, is that right?
Head of security. Yeah.
Head of security, right? And the two of them had a fallout, is that right? Black Panther and as well as White Wolf.
White Wolf, yep.
Okay, now describe this fallout.
The fallout was more so of he felt he was like he was gonna be the next up.
The next leader.
The next leader up in line, but once he had his son, once T'Chaka had a blood son, like nothing he could really do.
Right.
So he tried his best to do as much as possible to prove his worth, to prove that he could take for the throne, and they did battle it out at one point. I don't remember what for.
Well, you know, what we can do is this. Let's do this. Let's go on commercial break. We'll come back and discuss White Wolf, definitely. But I mean, stay tuned. Here to help you, Dave Rankin, Bruce Dwayne. Keep it locked.
We are doing this event for the community. But what if CEO actually stood for catching every opportunity?
This week alone, I've seen 3 businesses that shut their doors in this community.
Investing in yourself, like you have to know what your brand is first. So there's no other way that you're going to build a brand unless you network. You have to eventually get out there.
And it stems down to a lot of times not having the right knowledge, the right know-how.
Welcome back, family. Thank you very much for tuning in once again today. I am your host, Dave Rankin, alongside my brethren, Bruce Dwayne. And as you can tell, of course, if you're just tuning in right now, there's no Simone Jennifer Smith this week. She's gone off to, of course, the greener pastures into the wonderful land of Windsor. Be safe. I know the drive over there must have been hectic, especially with the snowfall which we had overnight. Be safe, definitely, and you know, we wish you, of course, you and Brittany a safe travel back, definitely. You know, before the break we were discussing White Wolf, and if we can go and throw up some of those pictures in once again. Beautiful. Look at that picture right there.
Yeah, that's a great
wow
picture.
You know, you can tell it's very similar, of course, to the Black Panther suit, right? Of course, with the exception, of course, of it being white. But still, I mean, you can still, of course, you know, see the ears, you know, the claws, definitely, you know, right? The cape as well, right? So I mean, it's very interesting in regards to how now these two adopted brothers now do share something very similar.
Yeah.
Right. As we discussed in regards to his backdrop, he was a sole survivor of a plane crash. The plane did have his parents were on the plane as well.
Yep.
Right. So and T'Challa's father found him, adopted him, right? And of course now T'Challa is born, and of course, and this is where the rift takes place.
Exactly.
Right. So I believe that you mentioned that they did have a fallout, especially with him being the head of security at that point in time as well.
I think majority of, like, again, I think the fallout with Black Panther is what everybody kind of had the issue with Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's never in Wakanda because he's too busy with the Avengers.
Right.
He's way too busy with the Avengers, and especially someone like Hunter, White Wolf,
mm-hmm.
who's so dedicated to Wakanda.
Right.
Who loves Wakanda so much. It's like, you're not here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here all the time, and I'm defending Wakanda, and I'm like people are really upset with Black Panther, and like, so it's funny how like he's such a big image in like the black culture for us,
right?
But like in the comics in Wakanda, he's like, everyone kind of has this kind of like grudge against him. Like, you're supposed to be the king,
right?
The leader, and you're not really kinging and leading, like, you know. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to lead, of course, when if he's away, right? But one thing that I've noticed as well, definitely, is that every time he's away, there are more people willing to battle and step up and, of course, do this coup, you know, and try to step up and take the throne,
mm-hmm.
right? As you mentioned before, of course, when the cat is away, of course, the mouse will come out and play, right? So, I mean, I can understand him in that regards as well. Also, I can look at now, let's go ahead and take a look at this tiny nation, right, which nobody knows about, right, where there's been no outside influence whatsoever, right, and all their leaders have stayed home.
Yep.
Right, T'Chaka, you know, and as well as, of course, the other members as well, which do come up in the Ta-Nehisi Code story. This is an excellent, definitely story here, The Nation Under Our Feet. But you could see now regarding how the evolution of that character as a leader now is taking place,
yep.
right? Where it isn't just him now, or the threat coming into Wakanda; it's a threat around the world,
yep.
right? And remember, Wakanda's the richest place on Earth,
yep.
right? So I mean, it's
highly advanced technology and everything too, like,
right. It is said that what is he, like the top 6 or top 7 percentile and smartest people in the world,
yep.
right? And richer than Tony Stark, right? So I mean, he's in demand. So I can understand, of course, everybody's gripes, and of course, him as well being torn between, of course, should I stay home
or protect the world, like, you know, so
be part of something bigger, which does protect the world, right? It's amazing though, man. Let's discuss some of the superhuman powers that a White Wolf has, especially, you know, concerning the suit as well.
So a wide range of handguns and assault weapons that he uses. Vibranium microwave mesh suit. In his Hunter Zerasi uniform, the microwave robs incoming objects from their momentum. Bullets do not ricochet off, but they simply fall into the ground when they come in contact with him. There are also cloaking technology on the suit as well. So it's equipped with advanced cloaking technology, alter his appearance, uses the feature to render himself invisible. Unlike the Zerazi, the cloaking technology in the White Wolf universe also allows him to make it appear to be an ordinary business suit. So he can transform it into like a work suit.
Yeah, he can wear the suit all the time.
All the time. He's also energy dampening boots. So regulators create varying fields from the vibranium in the molded soles of his boots, enabling White Wolf to survive a fall from several stories and land like a cat. Given enough momentum, the wolf can also run on walls, skim across water. The field can also be used offensively to shatter or weaken objects.
Oh boy. So he's definitely been infused with, of course, Wakandan technology.
Exactly.
Right? And, you know, you can tell, especially with the first part that you mentioned regarding the microwave, how the bullets, of course, the propulsion that stops the bullets on impact, right, and it just falls
to the ground,
as opposed to ricocheting,
yep.
right? That's excellent though, man. Let's jump on over to our next character, Solomon Prey. Excuse me. This is an oldie but a goodie, right? And I'm gonna show up this book definitely until, of course, we get the pictures up. Solomon Prey. This series came out in 1990.
Vintage.
There we go. That's from book 2 of the whole Panther's Prey series. But the reason why he's on my list, right, and just give you some sort of backstory between for Solomon Prey as well. Anybody who's willing to put implants in his back so he can grow wings and claws and not take any painkillers should be on a badass list.
Kind of crazy. So I don't know what to say about that.
So just to give you a little bit of backdrop, all right. So born in Wakanda as well. He excelled in school and was a native one of the few native Wakandans to leave the country. He was educated at Harvard, right? So of course you have that the intelligence there, right? And it was at Harvard that he went ahead and legally changed his name to Solomon Prey, choosing the name Solomon for the wisdom that it represented. Now, considering that he considered himself to be a great observer, manipulator as well, so we regard his education as merely a supplement to basically his overall goal, which, like everybody else's, was of course to go ahead and take over the throne. Right? When he returned back to Wakanda, he romanced Tenzika, which was also an enemy of Black Panther. Now, we've mentioned the Malice story. Tenzika also was another woman who, of course, if I believe, was also infatuated with Black Panther. And of course, the rejection led to her, of course, wanting, well, you know what, team up with others to go ahead and take over the throne as well.
So, like, Black Panther is really a ladies' man. You know, so.
You could say that again, you know, from Monica Lynn to, we know, Storm, right? Yeah. Malice, who rejected Tenzika as well, to countless of others. To, of course, you know, we mentioned, of course, the Dora Milaje as well. I mean, that goes to show you, men in high places definitely attract
bear things. It's like bear things. This guy's getting bear things on here.
Right. It was at the hands of Dr. Kaza, right, who implanted the cells in his back, right, for him to grow these wings, right? So I mean, like I said, I mean, anybody who wants to go this far, right, to grow wings, just to go ahead now and of course take over the throne, right, to have an upper edge. That's serious, man.
It's real serious. Like, to be honest, when I was looking through it, and the process looked really,
it's gruesome
and painful. To know that he didn't even take painkillers for that. That's scary. Like I stub my toe in the morning when I wake up and I'm there like halfway in tears. Like it's like the worst pain ever. Like I'd rather be shot. Like it's like oh my gosh. Like
so now we know the next time you stub your toe, just think of Solomon Prey. Think of the process of Solomon Prey. So that way, of course, we have to man up in that instance, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the fourth series, it's a 4-part series, and at the end of the 4th part, he does die fighting Black Panther, and his cohorts they're like winged horsemen. They fly in like pterodactyls. Basically, I'm gonna call them pterodactyls because I don't know what else to call them. So, anyways, now. During that battle between Black Panther and, of course, Solomon Prey, one of his henchmen, who was flying one of the pterodactyls, of course, swoops in, and instead of grabbing Black Panther, it grabs Solomon Prey. With a force so incredible that it actually severs the wings from his back, right? And he instantly perishes.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely instantly perishes. You know, and since then, I haven't heard of them recreating or rebooting his story, right? That's pretty much the end of Solomon Prey at that point in time. And what's so interesting, and you know what? I tell you, when they say cold as ice, right? Tenzika, right? When Solomon Prey dies, she looks over him, right? Curses him out because he failed, kicks him, and walks away. Right?
Well, that's cool. Yeah. On your deathbed, your girl kicks you and then it says like, "Yo, like you're a failure. Like get out of here." Like, yo. It's like, yo, it's not my fault, but I don't care. You're gonna get out of here. Like,
exactly, wow. Right? So I mean, you know what? Like you could see that they had a strange relationship during that series, and by means, of course, you could say that they were both using each other for the resources in order, of course, to go ahead and usurp the throne. But as we know, how everything turned out.
Yeah. Just a quick question, like, so I know you're more familiar with this issue here. Do you think they should kind of revamp it and make it anew? Like,
you know, it'd be interesting in regards to like how everything would be reformed now. I remember, of course, Killmonger died, and he was resurrected, right? Mind you, he's resurrected through demonic forces, right? And of course, his character was just changed dramatically. Mind you, of course, he was still as, you know, insidious. Right, still as, of course, grudgeful, you know, and still wanted the throne to defeat Black Panther, right? But you can see the subtle nuances, of course, in his character. I would love to see, of course, Solomon Prey come back. I'd love to see what the artwork would look like right now, right? I want to know, of course, if the process would be as grueling. I just want to know, you know, like it'd be just interesting, you know, who knows, like maybe they get just like some like Terrigen mist instead of him going through, of course, you know, the whole cell process. Yeah. He just ingested Terrigen mist, you know, gets the, you know, the cocoon breaks out, and of course all of a sudden he's got wings. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, like I would love to see that whole process, right? And who knows, maybe, you know, the good folks at Marvel are listening to us and want to go in and recreate the story, right? I want to jump ahead and you know what? Let's talk about Doom War. I know we only got a minute left, right? And let's go ahead and jump to Doom War and show up some of those pictures from Doom War. Before the pictures go up, definitely, there it is, that the book cover. I absolutely love this story, and I'm going to go ahead and actually put this one up for the last minute or so. So, as we know, Victor Von Doom, you know, as we know him as an enemy from Fantastic Four, but this gentleman out for not only just world conquest, but you know what, he had a twisted reality as to why he wanted, of course, the vibranium at that point in time, right? For him, if he can go to control the vibranium source, he can go ahead now and control the amount of wars, the deaths in happening around the world, right? So, and it's so interesting where everybody who follows the Black Panther story knows that at some point in time they have to go through the Panther God. Oh, this picture is just ill. Yeah, it's an ill picture, of course, with the Doombots in the back. This is the same series where the Midnight Angels are introduced. This series also to fight Doom, Fantastic Four, some of the Avengers, of course, are part of the battle as well, and Deadpool. Yeah. Deadpool. His line is amazing. When he first sees, of course, you know, the Midnight Angels, he says, "Oh my!" Right? He falls in love at first, second, third, and fourth sight. Right? So I mean, it's real interesting in regards to, of course, you know, how they go ahead and throw this in, right? But the Doom War, the reason why I like this story as probably one of my favorite stories out of all of the Black Panther stories is the fact that, you know what, he was this close to go ahead and taking over the resource, right? And the only way to go ahead and defeat it was to get rid of the resource. Yeah. So Wakanda was absolutely broke after this. The vibranium, every source of vibranium was absolutely destroyed at this point in time, right? And of course, later on, of course, they rebuilt it and so on and so forth. But just to go to show you, guys, so like, if anybody questioned T'Challa's reasoning or simply wanting, of course, to be king and you know what, and his ability to lead, showed an ultimate sacrifice and of course, plundering, in this case, you know what, in order to go ahead and save the nation. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's one of my favorite stories, definitely. Out of all the favorite characters, you know, we only got a few minutes left, definitely. Out of all the characters we went through today, which one of them would you say would be your favorite that we've gone through?
Well, story-wise, I still do like the Midnight Angels.
Okay.
Because their story just seems so cool to me.
Yeah.
But, like, my favorite villain out of all these would be Killmonger or even Doom.
Oh, even Doom.
I know we didn't touch too much on them, but those two are kind of like the biggest ones.
Biggest ones, definitely. Look out for the movie. The movie will have Killmonger. I'm taking a wild stab. Maybe, you know, if once they do go ahead and do a Black Panther 2, that maybe they're going to throw in the Midnight Angels as well. Yeah. Right, ladies and gentlemen around the world, thank you so much for going ahead and tuning in today. Of course, as we can see, of course, no Simone Jennifer Smith today, but of course, us brothers were holding it down. Brother Bruce Dwayne, and myself, Dave Rankin, signing off. We'll see y'all next week when Simone Jennifer Smith will return. Peace and love, family.
Salute.